Hi friends, welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, we will learn about Angular directives. Angular directives are an important part in Angular which enhances the HTML element. So let's see what is directives. They are extended HTML attributes. In other words, directives are something that introduce new syntax or markup. They are markers on the DOM element which provide some special behavior to DOM elements and tells Angular's HTML compiler to attach on runtime. If you remember, earlier we have HTML elements which are static, there is nothing dynamic. Now Angular's directives provide some powers to the elements so that it will run some functionality. In simple words, a directive allows you to attach a behavior to DOM elements. So let's see how many types of directives. There are three types of directives. First is structural directive, second is attribute directive, and last one is custom directives. So in this chapter we will learn about structural directive, but briefly we will check what is these three directives. First is structural directive. Structural directives are used to change the structure of an element. It alters the layout of DOM by adding, replacing, removing the element. So if you see structural directive, it is a directive which helps us to add the element on the browser on the runtime or remove the element from the browser at the runtime. So DOM will not load until the condition will get satisfied. So if you see, we have some examples like ng4, ngif, ng-switch. Using this, we are checking with the conditions. If it's passed, we are adding or we are removing the element from the DOM. Next is attribute directives. Attribute directives changes the behavior and appearance of an element. That means if you want to change the appearance on the basis of some conditions, then we are using ng class and ng style. And the last one is custom directive. This is we are using when we need to do some directives on basis of some our custom requirements. So we will check it on our third video on directives. So today we will cover structural directive, next we will cover attribute directive, then we will go for custom directive. So let's start with structural directive. Again, the introduction is same. Structural directives are used to change the direct structure of an element. It alters the layout DOM by adding, replacing, removing of the element. I told earlier that we have to check some conditions. If the condition is pass or fail, based on that we are adding the data or we are removing the data using the elements. So if you will see, we have three structural directives: ng4, ngif, ng-switch. You can also create structural directive, custom structural directive using custom directive, that we'll see later. So first of all, let's see the syntax for ng4. You can see we are using ng4 with some syntax, right? So what is this? Actually ng4 is used to display the data on the basis of the list. So suppose you have a list, array list, or you can say an object, then we are using ng4 and we will iterate the data and we are showing the data here. Next is ngif. Ngif attribute we are using to check the condition. If it's validate, we are displaying the data, and if not, then we are displaying some other data. Next is ng-switch. Using ng-switch we can check if we have few or number of data, we are expecting any one data should be matched, then we are using ng-switch. So let's start doing practical. So let's start with ng4. We discussed that ng4 we are using to display loops of array and object. So let's start with an example with an array. So this is my array, I want to pass it to HTML, ng4. So for that, what I will do, I am taking a list or order list, and within the list I am going to pass my ng4 to display the data. So remember, if data is available, then only it is going to add in the DOM, otherwise it won't add. ng4, and here you need to pass a variable with let I. So let is a keyword of array list, and you have to interpolate here I value. So this is how it is iterating your array list or array data with ng4. Next we are going to use ngif. So if you remember, ngif we are using with some rule set, right? Rule set in the sense with some conditions. Suppose I have a rule 1 and the type is boolean and I am making it to true. So I am using here a div tag on the base of my condition I want to pass, but let me use some bootstrap class, and I am passing here success. Okay. Now using ng, if I want to check only if rule 1 is passed, then only it will show. So if I do it false, you can see nothing is coming, right? Okay, so it is clear using rule 1, that means if this condition is true we are showing this. But what if we have to show some other message instead if it is not passed, right? On that scenarios we have to use else. Else is came into the picture after Angular 5. I am passing rule 2. So no need to write anything rule 2 for a component file. This is just a reference ID. And here we will inject ng template. Within ng template we are going to pass another message of error. So ng template is going to use dynamically, it is going to add these values, and I am going to pass another class that is danger, and it should be error. Okay, now let's change the value. If I make it to false, it should go to this one, right? So for that we have a rule 2, which is an ID of this ng template. For that we have to pass this ID with hash, and you see we have the data. That means if this is passed, it will run this template view, or if it's fail, then it will go to rule 2, that is ng template. It will run on runtime. So next see ng switch. Okay, so before start ng switch, let me explain you briefly. ng switch works when we have multiple values and you expect any one value should be matched among these all values, right? So on basis of that matching, it will display the message. So let's start doing practical. Suppose I have a count of 1. That means count is a variable and the value is 1. Now here I have a div tag and I'm taking ng switch. ng switch is not written in star, it will be written as a square brackets. So ng switch I have written, and it should match with the count. Here you need to call star ng switch case. So for that I am printing within p tag and star ng switch case. If 1, it will print 1. Okay, should be caps. Okay, and copy paste with different value matching 2, 3. You can see I have 3 values to match. Now if I change here to 2, okay, so it is going to print 2. Oh, you can't see it properly, so let me use some style again, padding 30px. Okay, now I want to change the value 2 to 3. It is showing 3. 1, 2, you can see the value here, right? So what it will do, it will match with the count value and it will show the data. It will work only if you have a limited set of data and you know one should match with this, then you are using ng switch and ng switch case. So in structural directive this much only. Next we will see how to implement attribute directive. Thank you.